Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome. John Henry Soto here. Welcome to JHS Presents. Today, my guest is Art Shrian. Did I get that? I think I got that right. I hope. I'm going to ask him when he comes on. He's a filmmaker, writer, and actor. I'm really excited to talk to him. Actually, we've just met literally about a second ago. And so we're going to talk about film. I'm going to talk a lot about the industry and what's happening now and the future. And I'm really excited to have him on. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Art Shrian. Hey, all right. So I'm going to actually
Hey,
put your name on. How are you, sir?
I am fantastic. I'm fantastic. Thanks so much, John, for having me. It's such a pleasure to join you. So,
Oh,
thank
I
you.
appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being here. So very
You got the
quickly,
name right,
I did. Okay, good. Thank you.
Archery
Okay.
Antivari. So,
Shrian,
good
all right.
job on
Thank
that.
you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So real quickly. So are you where are you originally from?
I'm originally from India.
Okay.
Yeah, the left, right thing. I'm getting confused. Yeah,
Right.
I'm originally from India, and New Delhi. My family, my parents still live in Delhi. I grew up in India, traveling all over India. My dad was in military, so he would move around a
Uh,
lot. So I saw east, west, and north, all of that. And then I came to US 13 years ago
okay.
and made America my home. I just fell in love with the country, and
Yeah.
the
That's
union
awesome.
happened, and now
Yeah.
we're here.
That's so great. That's so great. Now films in India are really big, right? I mean, that's like it's a very big industry, isn't it?
It's huge.
It's
It's
huge, right?
huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
As yeah, it is. It's big. I think both in numbers of film that are produced, and also like it's an important part of people's life.
Right.
I grew up watching Indian films, and that's why I say that I have. Even though I'm a filmmaker, I feel ashamed at point that there is like many classics that I have not seen because I'm still catching up.
Oh,
Because until the late '90s, I was aware of American films, and they did reach to India. But the thing is, there's so much Indian movies, and I didn't need to watch them. Plus, English
yeah.
was not my first language growing up. I mean, I spoke perfect English because of the school and stuff, and I went to an English medium school, as you say. But
Right.
still, there was so much Hindi movies, Hindi stars, so I would just watch them.
Right.
It was
Right.
the early 2000s when I started getting more and more into English films, and now I'm that guy who's like the last time I saw an Indian film or Hindi film was like I don't know 5 6 years ago, which is kind of
Yeah.
a shame. So yeah,
It's
I'm
all
stuck
good.
in
It's
the
all good.
80s and 90s when it comes to Indian films.
It's
So
okay. Well, I mean, I know I watched a lot of. I think it's Shura Khan. I guess is the very famous.
he
um,
is. I don't know. He's like the
he's
Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt,
he's
and throw
humongous.
another one in, all in
Yeah.
one. Actually, you
Yeah.
can't even like. There's it's nobody's like. You cannot compare. People used to call him Tom Cruise of
But you
India,
can't
but
really even compare it because
no, no,
it's just he's too big.
he's
It's
too
like
big.
yeah, it's humongous. I saw a documentary briefly on him, and I also saw an interview recently with David Letterman on the Netflix series. And I knew he was big, and I have actually box sets of his films because I love Indian films actually. Um,
Really? Wow,
yeah, and I
impressive.
have a box set of his films, and I on Netflix there's a bunch of his work on there. So I've been
Yeah.
watching them. They're long, they're beautifully shot. I mean, some of these things are just incredible color and just the choreograph is just amazing. So I love those films for the spectacle of it. Um, how do you compare those when you're making films here? Did you take a lot of that kind of knowledge of watching those films and incorporate them into your filmmaking in America?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Because I think the influence is definitely there, right? Because I grew up on that, right?
Right.
So, it's what you grow up on is just ingrained into your soul, so to say.
Right.
And storytelling is not new for me. Like I primarily work in United States as a filmmaker right now, at least. But as I said, I was writing, telling stories when I was a child. I won a national award for writing a 15-minute play
Oh,
that was
cool.
in Hindi, in the Indian language, in Hindi, when I was 16. So
Mm.
the reason I'm mentioning that is that so I'm when I started telling stories, when I started writing, acting, directing, I hadn't even seen Hollywood films. So yes,
Wow.
the influence is definitely there. However, when it comes to making films as a filmmaker, I think I don't think I really take any template, so to say,
Right.
right? And if I do, they're more tend to be American films, Hollywood
Mm.
films, because of the fact that this is more recent to me. And as a filmmaker, that's what I grew up on as a filmmaker, you
Right.
know. So yeah, okay, I'm looking at, okay, so I want to shoot it like when I'm talking to my DP. I mean, I want this to feel like a little bit like Get Out, or like give me the music like Twilight Zone, because so
Mm.
that's my inspirations as filmmakers.
Mm.
And I look at that kind of things a lot. Or like even Casablanca is one of my favorite films. I'll be like, okay,
Mm.
so even the emotional elements really come from Hollywood. But I have seen that as I'm writing, as a writer, very much for my future screenplays and stuff, I will see that, oh, I'm saying this kind of like, where I see my influence from Shah Rukh Khan or Amir Khan or all these Indian romantic films, and
Mm.
especially in romance. I think when it comes to romance, I'm very heavily influenced by Indian films
Mm.
in that particular genre. And not saying, I know people think of song and dance, but and it's a big part of Indian films, yes,
Mm.
but not just from now, but from early days, like from 60, 70, 80 years ago till now. There's a lot of non-song and dance films. There's a lot
Mm.
of 90-minute, 2-hour films, great films as well, that are made in India. But
Mm.
I grew up on that song and dance romantic drama film. So yes, when
Mm.
I go into romantic drama, I think that's when my Indian film brain turns on,
Yeah.
and I see that seeping in, and they do a great job of it. If you've seen, Shah Rukh Khan is a master of romance.
He is.
I
Yeah.
don't think American filmmakers do it like he does.
No,
No
I
offense.
think yeah, he's a class by himself. Absolutely, I have to agree with that. So, talk to me about storytelling because you've been writing. You said you wrote when you were 16. You won that award. That's a very young age to be writing a story that influences to win awards. So, how is your songwriting, your storytelling? Now that you're an American filmmaker. What's your story? What is that like for you? Like what's your process of storytelling? Like what's your genre that you prefer? Is it romantic comedy? Is it drama?
So I think I'm evolving as I do this, but at this point, I have been fortunate to option 2 movie screenplays, and that I wrote with I'm working on with my writing partner Lepaco Sandoval, and they're very different. One is a romantic drama,
Mm.
which they're saying
Mm.
it is a romantic drama, but other one is a laugh out loud comedy,
Okay.
of course, social comedy. And then a short film that I did is this, pure drama thriller. And then I'm working on another feature comedy with Lester Green, our common friend,
Mhm.
fantastic actor,
Yeah.
producer, filmmaker, who I did the short film in Atlanta. I shot in Atlanta with him. Atlanta. Red is
Yeah.
my color. And so, and then we're working on a feature. It will be All Right, which is basically a comedy thriller, satire. So yeah, so this is like, and so it will feel like I'm all over the place.
Mhm.
And it could be that I tell myself, and then there's also a fantasy I'm working on, a fantasy comedy, and I love sci-fi, and there's a
Mm.
sci-fi web series that I'm working on as well. Uh,
Wow.
so so yeah, so yeah, it will feel like it's all over the place. But I think there's 2 things I'll have to say to that. First thing, I think good storytellers are not really bound to a genre. You
Mhm.
cannot be, because stories are stories.
Right.
Yes, some certain things better. It's very possible, right? I'm not saying that as a writer or as even as a director per se, you have a certain style of filmmaking, so it suits more fantasy and stuff like that. But as a storyteller, you're a storyteller. If it's a good story, that's what you want to tell.
Right.
So I don't really think and you'll have to do your research. I have to do my research on
Of
certain
course.
topics that I'm trying to do explore, because I don't know everything. If it's unless it's about my life, I will have to do research. It's very
Right.
important as a writer. So the common theme that I do feel right now is everything tends to be social. So it's a social comedy. It's a
Mm.
social drama. It's a social thriller.
Right.
So that aspect I'm seeing that it automatically, even when I don't think of it, kind of seeps into my storytelling.
I
And
see.
I feel that does come from being an immigrant, and growing up you know growing up, and I say as a filmmaker in the community, surrounded by the times that we live in, where
Mhm.
I mean, right now included, we are living turbulent times.
Right.
So as a storyteller, I think that's my big influence. Everything I
Yeah.
tend to write uh, tends to have some sort of social angle in it, even if it's a comedy, thriller, or whatever that is. And that's what attracts me most as a storyteller, the social aspect of human condition.
Right.
uh, you know so yeah,
Yeah.
that's the common theme I
Yeah.
feel.
When it comes also, like, for me, I think it's the same kind of thing with the social commentary that I want to make with characters. I don't think I even know a genre going in. Sometimes, like, I'll just think of a two characters or three or four characters or a situation, and then
Right.
that situation develops into, oh yeah, this is actually going to be funny, or this is actually not going to be that funny, or
Agreed.
whatever it is. So yeah, you're right. It's not really a genre thing. It's a story thing.
Yeah.
And character stories, I think they're I personally think that right now we're in a wonderful age of filmmaking, where I think a lot of storytellers are going to be telling uh, a lot more stories that were not going to be told before this whole situation that we're in right now. I think that
Right.
we're gonna a lot of people out there are writing, are really making more of an effort to actually write stories that have to do with just characters, as opposed to major big, trying to think like, superhero stuff or any, because characters really, it's always going to be story, you know what I mean? And that's really always going to be the main thing. Do you like where the industry, two parts. Do you like where the industry was in the before COVID, and do you like where it's going after COVID? It's probably a loaded question, but just filmmaking and I don't mean filmmaking the actual films, I mean the industry, because I know Hollywood's been slapped around a little bit for the last couple of years, with a lot of things happening, and it just seems a little bit different to me.
Right, and that's a very interesting question. Absolutely, and of course, it has so many things. But I feel this that you know during this time when we're stuck at home, right, with not much else to do, and so, this social distancing and stuff, the stories have been such a big part of people's lives. Like, imagine what would people do if there was these films and web series and
Right.
everything was not there, right? We're already going mad, but
I know.
imagine if that was the case. So why I say that is, like, a lot of times I have questioned myself, to myself, and I'm sure people say, like, what are you doing? As, like, yeah, that's such a waste of time, right? That not doing anything productive,
Mm,
right? Yes, in this film business, it's not productive. I mean,
mm,
I come from corporate background. I came to US as a software engineer, and the normal Indian thing. I had a corporate job, worked on Wall Street and stuff for over a decade before I left it to do this full time. So I
mm,
definitely have people even more so who are like, why are you leaving a six-figure job to do this, right? Which is
right.
very hard to make money, and very hard to do that, like, and you won't be doing anything, like, wow, what are you doing? But storytelling is very important,
Mm,
and you can see it at this time, and not just for, and of course there's big thing, I and you and I, we want to tell character stories, social stories. We want to be that conduit of change.
mm,
At least, I'm very passionate about that. However, it is just such an important intrinsic entertainment value,
mm,
and entertainment is valuable. Like, imagine, that's what I'm saying, what would have happened to people if that content was not available. People would have literally gone mad.
Oh
That
my gosh.
entertainment is really coming to big rescue. Just
Hmm.
stupid entertaining content too. So entertainment itself, and that's why in the world right now, from Vine to TikTok, that's pure entertainment for the most part, and it's popular because people need entertainment, not just like entertainment.
Right.
So my point about and then going to into the COVID thing. So I think it's going to be an interesting and probably good time for storytellers, more so for independent storytellers,
Hmm.
because especially immediately after this, Hollywood has to adjust, right? And they have to work. Maybe not as much limitations as small indie filmmakers you and I have to do, but you still cannot do the things the way they used to do. So they have to learn the lesson. And there's an opportunity for storytellers, excuse me, to tell their stories and as long as the stories are good, get out and be seen. So I feel like there is going to be, it's going to open more opportunities for
Hmm.
storytellers.
Yeah.
And I always say good stories always, win. That's why I'm a very big proponent of putting work in the story, because if your story is not good, highly likely that your film or project is not, TVC, whatever it is not going to be good.
Right.
But if you have a good story, that does not guarantee success, but that definitely increases chance of your success.
Right.
So that's just at least in my
Yeah. No,
belief,
that's
common
perfect.
sense.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Perfect response. I mean, I do think that the storytellers are going to be, and you're right. Netflix and Amazon and all these people have really saved the day. And when you think about this, is what I've been saying this on the show a few times, where all this content is being consumed at such a high rate that they're going to need a lot more content coming up, because
Right,
this stuff has been depleted for 2 months. Everybody's been sucking dry Netflix and Amazon and Disney Plus and all that other stuff. So there's going to be some other opportunities for storytellers. Not to mention the fact that I'm sure that there's going to be some major conglomerate media company somewhere that's going to start another streaming business,
well,
because
everybody's in the business now.
yeah,
So
because but I'm thinking like somebody that's going to compete with Netflix, with all these new writers and new independent people that have been sitting at home
yes,
writing. It's one of the things that I think I'm excited about, is about the stories that we're going to see coming out of this.
right,
You
right,
know, because you're right. I don't like to talk cameras with anybody when they tell me, like, what are you shooting with? You got the red camera. You got this. It's all technical. What, like, I'm not that technical about that stuff. I know my frame is. I want a good quality frame. I know what I know where the story should go, but I don't want to talk technical stuff. I want to story tell, right?
right.
So I think that that's really going to be a major thing, because I've noticed a lot of people have stopped really talking about technology in film, because that used to be the thing. You would see, like, oh, this new camera has this and this was this and this new thing, and now it's like, okay, now we're actually talking a little bit more about the actual stories that are being told. um so what have you been doing during this time, during our lockdown? Have you been working more on writing, and were you working on something right when this hit?
Yes. So I was, because I had just, as I was mentioning earlier with Lester, I just shot these two projects. One was a short film, Red is
Nice.
My Color, and then one was a teaser for a feature, actually, that we wanted to shoot this fall, that I'm currently working on. And now everything is up in the air, right?
Yeah.
So uh, we'll see. I mean, we still want to do it, and we will do it, but the timelines are difficult to decide.
Right.
However, I think something that you were saying just now is this does open opportunity if you look at it as an opportunity. And regardless, I think it does open opportunity for storytellers, especially writers. I think this, and I've talked to a few people, and I keep hearing that this is a
Yeah.
great, and again, it's awful everything that's happening. So I'm just trying to look at the positive side of it
Right.
and just say
Well,
what
you have to.
what that is, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not awful in every way, or in many ways, but on the other side, it's been great for writers. having at least the ones that are capable of supporting themselves, right?
Right.
Um, so my point is that people are going to come out with good stories because of the time uh, that we have had. I mean, even if you're a full-time writer, there's so much going on in your
Mm,
life. Okay, I have to go meet friends, I have to go to this event, I have to do social networking, and I'm this working on this, working on that, right? Like there's so
mm,
many other things that has freed up time. And as a writer, that free time sometimes can be a blessing. I'm sure it's awful for some who like to work in coffee shops and stuff,
mhm.
but it's good for some. So I mean, I've been writing, and I think
Oh,
writing's
good.
been good, and I have in this time I have been able to create three new projects that I'm actually working on as well,
Wow.
which are two of them are series. One was an old idea that I've had for a while, but I'm revamping that. I'm very happy with it. Another one is another series that's brand new, sci-fi series that I just started developing because of the times that we are in. So
Mhm.
it's kind of, you know, based in these times, around these times,
Okay.
which I'm very excited about. And then another movie idea that basically talking with Lester and friends, something popped up.
Mhm.
So uh, yeah, so I think there's an opportunity for writers to write and even work
Mhm.
on your stories, right? Write and rewrite because you cannot shoot it, so you're gonna go
Right.
rewrite it. And
Right.
writing is rewriting. That's something that somebody told me. I don't even remember who, but the person was 100% right that
Right.
writing is rewriting. So
Right.
I've been rewriting a lot,
Mm.
which has been, I'm not rushing into shooting anything. I'm rewriting and I'm rewriting, and I can say that I can see the improvement,
Yeah.
uh, which always happens, but it takes sometimes 3 to 6 months
Mhm.
because it takes you that much time to come to that rewrite. But I've been able to do that in 3 weeks instead of 3 months because
Yeah.
what else am I going to do?
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think rewriting is something that gets overlooked a little bit because they don't realize how you can take a scene that has like all this dialogue, and when you're rewriting, you realize you can really make it more concise and more to the point and really move it along a little much more smoother. So rewriting is writing, and it's actually a tremendous important thing. How do you assemble your team? Like, do you have specific people you always use, or do you recruit, or do you do casting?
well, I'm in the process of developing a more, I'll say permanent is a hard word to use in this industry, but permanent team, let's say. But so I'm in process of creating that, team.
Right.
But yes, I have people that I trust and I worked with, and I like to work with them because once you work with them, then you know that you can
Right.
work with them because you know their work ethic, do you, in their personal style, if you want to hang out with them. This business is hard enough already that you don't want to work with people that you don't like,
Right.
right? I mean, sometimes you have to, and if there's money involved, that changes the equation.
Yeah,
But
if you get cast in something, yeah, that's always
right,
the rough one.
right, right. But but still, I think that's one of the most important aspect of this thing. So
Mm,
I think my process has usually been that, and again, I'm developing that process as I move forward. But one big thing has been referrals. And I'm actually
mm,
surprised that when I start looking at people that I have worked with and that I like working with, almost all of them, everything, producers, directors, DPs, crew, and of course actors, have come usually through referrals. So,
mm.
which is obvious in some sense if you think about
It,
it,
it
right?
does, yeah,
That's you work with somebody and you trust someone and they worked with someone, so you
yeah.
have that synergy. So that's pretty obvious. But I'm seeing that happening a lot. That it coming from referrals. But also, I think one big thing is reaching out to people,
Mm,
networking events, like or not just let me take that back, because people think of networking events as these things that people do, right? Okay, we'll networking events. When I say networking, my idea is more like film festivals, people where you meet people who are actually doing something and are serious about it. Because
Right.
I've seen, I won't be able to put the number, but a lot of time these events are just,
Yeah,
you know,
they're hangout parties.
right. So, but when you go to a film festival where somebody's screening their film, they have put the work in, right?
Right.
You go, you support other filmmakers. That's your
Sure.
first responsibility by going to film festivals, right? You
Mhm.
support other filmmakers, young, new, whoever are the ones that you appreciate, but you'll have an opportunity to meet people. So I'm really big proponent of film festivals because I have met a lot of people, including Lester Green,
Mhm.
who I met at Everybody Digital Film Festival in Brooklyn, done by Alan Maldonado. That's how I met him. And then it's, you see their film, you see them talking on the stage, you get a vibe of them.
Sure.
That gives you, and you go reach out to them. That's another step. And then and of course, it's always a hit and miss, right? But
Right.
then when it does hit, it can be great. Like we established a great partnership. And then again, as I said, referrals. He's referred me to people and other friends that I worked with. Sujiva Ikanaike, a great friend of mine that who social media. He met me
Right.
on Facebook. He found me on Facebook, and we did this feature together that I starred in last year, Werewolf Ninja Philosopher, because I'm also an actor, and I was
Right.
just an actor in the film, but just social media. So I think
Wow.
it's all over the place how you meet people in this business. But one
Mhm.
consistent thing that I have felt, and you can tell me what you think about it, but advice at this point I will give people is, hang out with people, right?
Right.
Some, especially people who you have to work out with for a long time.
Yeah.
Right, if a main lead actor or director or DP that you have to work closely with, and I say hang out, spend some time with them. A 5 minute to 10 minute interview or audition is not going to tell you anything about them. I'm learning
Right.
that that's always a good process. If you like have a lunch with somebody, have a coffee, talk to them, try to understand,
Mhm.
where they're coming from, and we as creators kind of can feel the energy and the vibe, and then you'll
Yeah.
know. I mean, that
Yeah.
process kind of has worked for me a lot. Almost everyone who I've worked with long, who I'm building a long relationship with, I look back at, and I can always remember having that first coffee or lunch or
Yeah.
something where we decided to meet for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and it ended being hour, 2 hour, and we kept talking, and
Right.
now we're here.
Right.
So I mean, that's how it's been for me.
Yeah, I'm with Lester, who I met. He actually referred you to the show. He was like, "Oh, you got to talk to Art. He'd be fantastic." So I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I took that referral based on the fact that I know Lester and I just trust him.
Right,
And he was in one of my films, and we've talked a lot about working together again and stuff. And yeah, he's just one of those guys that just lights up a room. He just has tremendous energy. He's always optimistic, very positive about whatever the scene is, and he's also a really good actor.
right,
So all those combinations just really, and we did the same thing. It's funny you said that because we met originally. We met through someone else's. He was in someone else's film that I had been with in her film or something, and we kind of like met through when she was promoting her film. He was in it, and then we kind of all met through social media, and we just started chatting. And he saw some of my work, and we were like, "Hey, let's have coffee." So we went. So I went to New York City, and I live in Jersey, so we went to New York City, and we sat down, and we talked for like 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours or something, and about everything, and it was. And you're right, because you do build a relationship. You get to kind of see like how would this person be working on film set. And
right.
again, it is you have actually gone sometimes and you meet with somebody and you realize they're kind of a mess. And I do this. I mean, I've met with hundreds and hundreds of people, and sometimes you meet with someone, and it's a hit and miss. But a lot of the times the ones that really work are the ones that you spend that time. Exactly what you said. It's spot on. And that's like so important to really be able to work with somebody that you want to be hanging around with. That like when they yell cut, you don't want to just run off and get away from them. You want to actually
Right.
still stay there and hang out. So you mentioned you're an actor also, and you mentioned your film last year that you were in. What was that film? How was that experience?
That was fantastic. The film is called Werewolf Ninja Philosopher.
Okay.
It's art comedy, one of those absurdist, deadpan comedies, and also in slow cinema genre.
Oh.
The filmmaker, like Jim Jarmusch style,
Hmm.
Uncle Boone Me, like it's very, and which was new to me, but once you get, this is the we're in the business of experience, right? You experience something new, you like it
Right.
or don't like it, but if you like it, then you learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
So Sujiva Ekanaike is the writer director of the feature film, and the reason I mentioned that, like, he was just following me on social media. And another thing which people, I don't know how people feel about it, but because you'll always hear mixed things. I love social media, or I hate being on Facebook, or I hate
Right.
being on Twitter. Unless I have a million followers or whatever, like, what's the point? But that's not necessarily the point. Unfortunately, this business needs marketing. This business needs exposure. You need that.
Yeah.
If you want to be seen, maybe you just
Right.
were doing it for yourself, and that's okay. But if you want to be seen, you need that. And staying active is important. I was not actually on a lot of social media, even though I was worked in, IT computer business, giving people advice and social media strategies and stuff like that. But I was not active on almost anything for the
Mm.
longest time, because I was like, why do I need to? But when I got into this business full time,
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to certain people with a lot of experience in the industry, and that's what their advice was, like, be not just be visible and be active,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because people are watching. You may not think any, okay, even if you have just 10, 20, 100, 500, whatever followers, and not millions,
Mm-hmm.
there could be people that that can change your life,
Mm-hmm.
for one thing. And second, and people watch. So Gio was just like my social media friend, and he was probably watching, well, like, all the things that I'm sharing. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, going to film festivals, writing, meeting people. Like, you show that you're actually active, not just, hopefully you actually are, and not just showing up.
Right.
I think, but if you are, people see that.
Mm-hmm.
And on his side, he was also a very active person, in the sense he would like, comment on what I'm doing. My friends, couple friends had some crowdfunding campaigns. He actually donated to that. So there
Wow.
was a two-way thing going, right? I saw
Yeah.
that this person is actually my social media friend, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, there's so many that I'm friends with thousands of people,
Right.
but
Right.
I
You don't
just
see.
only remember name of like 10, 20 people, right?
Right.
Which is okay. But he was also active. So when he reached out to me one day that, hey, I'm working on this film and I would like to meet you. And
Mm.
I'm like, sure. And, of course, as an actor, you're always hungry to meet anyone. But I
Right.
had some faith in this person because of the connection he had built. And the reason I
Right.
mentioned that is that hopefully people do that. Something
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning that's important.
Yeah.
And then I met him, and then the same thing I was saying. It was like a half-hour meeting, but turned into 2 hours, and we kept talking about things that he is doing, I'm doing, and there was this nice synergy that was built in that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened, and then I was in, and as you know, in the indie world, things take their own time. It took him a couple of years to make that film, which is I, as I know, is not it's actually not bad.
Right.
To make a feature length film,
Mm-hmm.
but he did make the film, and the film screened in multiple theaters. It was at Cinema Village in New York. It was invited to at Facets in Chicago. It's a indie, film, like Cinema Village of or Lincoln Center of
Mm-hmm.
Chicago. And we got reviews in Chicago Tribune. We got a very
Wow.
good review there, and a few other places. So that was fantastic. And as an actor, especially if a person puts a trust in you to cast you as lead, that's an honor
Right.
already. So that was great. But the biggest thing I feel is just completing something that I'm learning as I'm in this business, is
Mm-hmm.
that if anybody makes anything, a short film, especially a feature film, which
Mm-hmm.
is so much sweat and blood, and even a series or something,
Mm-hmm.
it's great. I mean, maybe I don't like it. So
But the
what?
effort is great.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, it takes so much effort to create
It does.
something like, because no, being in the business, I know, and nobody wants to make a bad film, especially on the indie level. And that's the
Right.
thing. I'm a little
Right.
bit, as much as I want to work with big studios and everything, you know, I'm a little bit partial towards that, because you have much more resources to make right decisions.
Sure.
But right.
Yeah.
But regardless, nobody makes intentionally makes bad films.
Right.
It takes so much effort, it's just not
Yeah.
worth it. And
Not worth.
nobody's going to Absolutely nobody's going to do that. So if
Right.
somebody is doing it, kudos to you. I try to look for positives. I try to learn from something. And
Hmm.
being in creating certain projects and being in certain projects, that respect just keeps growing for storytellers. Right?
Mm.
It's so much, and I'm saying in the indie world, people are putting so much effort, time, money, sweat and blood, literally, in making those things happen. I
Hmm.
have a lot of respect for those storytellers that are putting all they've got to tell the story that they're passionate about. That's a fantastic thing.
It is a
So
fantastic movie. Yeah, it's a great achievement when it gets done and gets completed, and they should be proud of it, no matter what happens afterwards. The work that they put in was the work. And you're right. Nobody wants to make a bad film because it's way too much work. Why would anybody do that? You
right,
know. But let's talk a little bit about the social media element of it, because that's I also get a little bit of the two sides. Doesn't seem like there's a middle ground sometimes. But I just heard Dr. Dre. Somebody posted Dr. Dre recently said that social media has kind of destroyed the mystique of the artist. And he said that he would have hated social media if he had been coming up during that time. Like he was already obviously very established. But what I was in my response to that, because it was somebody that I was talking to, I said, my response to it was basically saying that the mystique was the commodity of the artist, back before social media, and now the commodity is attention. Now it's attention. Now it's everyone's just craving for attention. Not craving for attention in the negative sense, but they want their brand and their products to be seen. And in order to be seen, you got to go where people's faces are, and it's people's faces are in their phones. So that's where you got to go. If people's faces are in a newspaper, you go to the newspaper. If they're on the TV, you go to the TV. But they're on these little boxes. So for me, I'm constantly on social media. I'm a big social media. I have a media company where I also do the same thing. I show people how to use social media. I do videos for me.
you
Every
got all that lined up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's the proof right there.
Right,
I'm very, very into it because I do every single platform that you can see right here. I've actually met someone and done a job with them. Either,
right,
a job where I worked for them, either in a video space or in the social media space, or actually an actor or whatever, a film that I got cast in. And the final thing I'll say about it is that because I'm very passionate about it, because I don't think that artists, filmmakers, and actors realize the importance and how they can really elevate themselves so quickly. And that's why I want to kind of emphasize this. But one of the things that happened to me was, because I was able to go out and make films on my own and shoot my own stuff and put it on social media and get a big following, and not a big following. I mean, I have a following, but it's not a big following, but have a decent following.
right,
When I went to my agent, my current agent in New York, before I signed with them, he wanted to see what I was about. And so
right,
normally you go to an agent and they want to hear your monologue or whatever. This was to sign for a management company. And he just turned to his computer and he was just like, all right, so where can I see you? He's like
right,
ready to, and I was just like, I got a little sweaty and stuff, and I was all nervous. But then I realized, oh wait, I do have stuff on there. And he
right.
went on there and he saw a bunch of stuff, and I was offered a contract, and that was due to social media. And
Wow.
that is an incredible story that I want people to understand, that you have to make it on. You have to create your success. You
Right,
have to create that thing. And I think with filmmakers, and I think you're a perfect example of that, is you're constantly working. You're a filmmaker when you're asleep. You're a filmmaker when you're walking. You're a writer. You're a creative. You're a content machine. So the
right,
fact that you were saying that you had all these projects going, I think that's fantastic. That's what you should be doing. Don't get those balls up in the air, start juggling them, and start working on them, because that actually gets you really in a much better place to handle the whole randomity of actually working on a project.
right.
So anyway, I'm gonna stop there because I go on forever on this stuff. But
No,
um
that's a great point, and congratulations on that. And you have to share that story. That's why I mentioned those stories, because it can make real life difference.
It does.
If you're honest, right? If you're faking it, you're going to be not excited about it, right? Because
Right.
there's
And
only
you'll
as
be
much fake
exposed.
content you can create, right? That how
Right.
much fake, how much can you lie that, hey, I'm doing this?
Right.
At some point, it's just not going to work. If you're
Right.
actually doing something, why not share it, right?
Right.
It's for so many reasons. People see it, people would get excited. But I've had people see it. I look through your page and I'm like, oh man, he's like, and anything. There's so many ways to do things. It's not like
Hmm.
even this
Hmm.
what we are doing here, right?
Right.
We are filmmakers, we're not journalists. And I have two podcasts right now that I currently host. One is Chocolate and Chai that I co-host with Lester
With
Green.
Lester,
Then I
yeah.
have my own podcast, Art Approved. That's another under a media portal that I run as well, my New York Eye. And that is just various ways to be out in the business that we are in,
Right.
right? You're talking with other filmmakers, storytellers, you're helping, giving others exposure, you're whatever you're doing. But if you're active, people will see that you're
Yeah.
passionate about this business, period. And
Hmm.
if you are, then people will want to work with you,
Right.
whatever it is that you bring to the table. You're a writer, you're an actor, you're a director, you're DP, you're a filmmaker, you're all of those things, as you and I
Yep. Yep.
fortunately and unfortunately happen to be. But it's important. There is that intrinsic value. And now I do not personally, I'm not great at the fakeness of it, and people have done that, and it's great. Like from Kardashians to Kylie Jenner, I can't take all the names because I'm not that much into it. But
Right.
people are doing that. Just that brand image, and that's a talent too, right?
Yeah. I mean,
That's not
it's
my thing, but
right. Right. It's weird. There's an actual company that you can pay that will, I think, and I don't remember how much it cost, but it wasn't that much. I think it was like $1,000 or something. But for $1,000, they will drive you in a big limousine to a private jet, and you get to walk on the runway, and a photographer will photograph you. And inside, and then you get inside, and then you have champagne, and you're being photographed in these like different in the limousine, and
right,
this is actually something people pay for. And I just thought to myself, my God, how desperate do you have to be
right,
to do that? It's really a sad situation what's happening. And at the end of the
yeah,
day, it's social media not only really exposes that, and because people are getting much better at reading it. In the beginning, you could see somebody on a limousine, in a limousine, wow, they're doing fantastic. Today, not so much. Not so much.
right. Another thing that can on that point that I just want to that which is interesting, right? Like all these celebrity pictures, right? In our business, hey, I just you saw and you run to them and take a picture, which is
Yeah,
I was never much into that. But
yeah,
excuse me, but something that if I have an opportunity, and I have pictures with celebrities, but anyone and everyone that I have pictures with, almost at least, especially in the last 5 years, are the people that I actually had a conversation with.
right,
My first and foremost thing is to connect with people, learn from people. Every opportunity, I met Robert De Niro. I asked him a question. We ended up talking for 10 minutes. His
wow,
PR person was like, hey, we got to go in there. People are like, there was an event. And he's like, no, don't you see I'm talking to him? So I was like,
wow,
but because I had asked a question that intrigued him. So he
yeah,
wanted to answer it because, in this business, everybody's not, there's assholes in every business, right?
right, right,
But
right.
there's good people too at all levels.
At all
And
levels,
people,
absolutely.
and it's also conversation. Are you that attention hogging person? Hey, can I, and I've made that mistake. I'm not saying that I've never made that mistake. And there's
Right,
been people that got overexcited and, I've made that mistake. But
right.
I'm learning from that. And my point to mention that is, uh, in social media, whatever you're creating, this fakeness does not help. Either it's walking on a jet that you never actually flew on because you're not there to be able to fly on a private jet. So what's the value of that whole charade?
I have no
Or
idea.
right, these fake pictures are trying to create an image that I'm working with or whatever I met. Did you really meet them, or
Right,
like
right.
I? So
Well,
that's just,
there's a sad emptiness to it, is really what
exactly
happens. And I think social media has created a little bit of that, because we are celebrities in our own little worlds. In our mind, we have social, we have Facebook pages. We got 500 people. I mean, when before before social media, when did you have 500 people connected to you in any at any given time? You know, unless you're on the
Right.
subway and you don't know everybody on the subway. So
Right.
it's created that, you know, but I think people are pulling it back now. People are kind of realizing it, and the ones that really utilize it, you know, they're the ones that they understand that it's a tool. This is a tool, you know. That's why I use it. That's why I do it. If all
Exactly.
if all these
Exactly.
platforms go away tomorrow, I don't really give a crap. I'll find other platforms. I'll find another way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a
Absolutely.
tool. So I think once you get that under, you know, you really have a better grip on that. Tell me about your future projects and what you know what's coming up. You said you were working on something with Lester, right? Is that something that's in the writing stage, or do you have it a little bit more developed? Are you ready to start casting?
Right. So there's multiple projects, and as you were saying earlier, right, especially in our business, it's always good to have multiple eggs in multiple baskets, I will say, right?
Right.
Because you don't know what's gonna hatch, what's not gonna hatch. And I, for one, is one of those person is like I actually thrive with more, right?
Yeah.
If I have just one, I kind of get lost.
Mm.
But if I have more, that works for me. It's not a
Yeah.
problem for me. Of course, I'm not going to work on it at the same time, and maybe even separate days or separate weeks. But it helps me stay excited.
Mm.
So I think the one that's the closest and upcoming project it'll be all right, which is basically this is a satire, uh, social dark comedy thriller, like a buddy comedy thriller, that the teaser should be out in a couple of weeks. It's in post production right now, that we shot, and that was a planned feature that we wanted to shoot this fall.
Okay.
So yes, the outlines written. I'm working on the screenplay right now because I'm a strong believer of writing before shooting. I love to improvise. I'm an actor, so I understand the value of improvising, but I also really believe as an actor or as a director, as a writer, in power of written word. You
Yeah.
have to have, if it's not written, it's not real, for
Right.
as far as
Mm.
I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So I love to have it written, so I'm currently writing that. But yeah, I think as soon as this gets over, the casting would be the first step. And we have some team built up. When I went to Atlanta, that was a purpose, right? Shooting some short films. You get to work with people, how it's working out, especially with the crew, which is very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
So that's in Atlanta. That's probably going to be in Atlanta. And then there's two features that I was saying that I've been fortunate to option. That's with the studio, so it's going to take it's with the studio system, so that's going to take its own time. It's
Right.
not in my hand. They give me notes, I write, I get paid. So
Right.
that's a very nice thing. I'm very fortunate to have that. Thanks to my great partner Alapaxo Sandoval, was my co-writer on the projects, and we have fantastic, great producers. They have given notes. I mean, I know as indie filmmakers, I've heard people kind of being anti-studio system, and it's personal choice. But I've been fortunate, and these are indie studios, not big Hollywood studios, so maybe that's why it's been good. But great feedback. Like there are
Yeah.
things I'm like, how did I miss that? And so I'm
Mm.
learning a lot in that process too. So a lot of, but it's a lot of feedback
Yeah.
keeps coming and keeps
That's great.
evolving. So it's there. And then, as I was saying, two pilots that I'm writing right now, that as soon as we get out of this, will be one would be shot probably in, because it's quarantine friendly, so it will be shot in next couple of weeks, the pilot. The other one would probably need some going out, and that would be in New York. So that would
Oh,
be
okay.
shot in New York, probably in partnership with Sujiva Ekanake, my director from Werewolf Ninja Philosopher. And as I mean, I'm sure you experienced that, right? It's you like to re-collaborate with people that you enjoyed collaborating,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like Lester, I've done something, I want to do more with him. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, Sujiva, I want to do with more with him. But
Yeah.
for all the listeners and watchers and audience, I am looking for new collaborators. This business is a business of collaboration.
Absolutely.
You cannot do anything by yourself.
No.
It will be sad if you had to.
You'd be
So
sad, and you go crazy too.
right. So partnerships and collaborations are very
Yeah.
important. So I'm always out and looking for collaborators. Especially the crew, and
Yeah.
Even I love co-writing and stuff too. So if you have a great story, I've been fortunate to do that. And
Yeah.
that's fun because you can bounce ideas with somebody and you're co-creating things and stuff like that.
Sure.
So yeah, but these are the projects that are coming soon, as I can see, hopefully this year,
Yeah,
depending
that's
on how things
awesome.
go.
That's
So
fantastic. Yeah, collaborating is like huge for me. If you look at some of the, I've done a lot of short films. I was in a short film that was at the Cannes Film Festival, like in a while back, 2011, I think, and I was the lead actor in
oh,
that. Which
great.
was, yeah, thank you. That was a lot of fun. Um, but I didn't write that one, and so when I started writing and stuff, I wanted to kind of really put together, like you were saying, a team. A team together, and I met some great people, so I've been working I did it once where I wanted to try. I shot a short film called Stabbed, which is I think it's on YouTube. And I did the casting, the camera work, the directing, obviously, the writing, the editing, the music, and then and put and it was the dumbest thing I ever did. I was like, I don't know why I did this. It was like so dumb, but I wanted to try to see to hold all the hats, so
Right,
I had the camera and the sound. I was like trying to boom up mics and hanging them up on stuff, so it was really really insane, but it got it done. And I think if the film came out pretty good, and but without realizing that you need people,
right,
having that understanding, it really becomes really difficult. And also being open to be able to have that opportunity, to have the opportunity to let that in, because you never know who you're going to meet. And if you're one of these guys that's a little bit closed up, because I meet sometimes people that, they're a little closed off and they're not ready,
right,
you may miss an opportunity. So I'm always very very open to like meeting anybody and just seeing what actually happens. One of the things that I've fallen, I'm going to ask you this. Um, one of the things that has fallen on my lap or in my head was that I shot these films, I wrote them, I casted them, and I shot them. And then I had an editor that left. Now I don't have an editor. We didn't have a falling out or anything, but he had some other issues and he had to go take care of some stuff. So now I'm stuck trying to edit. So I've been editing, Final Cut and Sony Vegas and Premiere, and I'm trying to go through all these different platforms to see which ones, because I know what I want to see, but the technical part of the knobs and all the shortcuts and all the editing part is like, it just drives me a little bit crazy. I'm just not really good at it. Now I'm totally big enough to say, look, I'm not good at this. Um, how do you deal with that? Like when you can't do all the parts, but you want to do all the parts, but you get stuck. Like right now, I'm stuck. I got 2 films in the can, as they say, and they're just sitting there, and I got pieces edited, but I don't like them because I don't know how to do color correction. I don't know how to do I don't know how to do anything except just look at the pictures. So, how do you handle like when you can't do everything? Um, do you trust somebody? Do you go out and find somebody to do it? Do you learn how to do it yourself a little bit so you can at least be part of the process? Like sound, for instance, right? Sound is a big thing. If your sound is off in music or in film, it's basically your film is done, right? So
right, right. I mean, sound is in our motion pictures, even though it's like motion picture visual medium, but sound is
it's
makes it can make it or break it,
yeah, if it's off,
practically.
yeah.
But
So
same thing with edit. Edit can make it or break it too. You
oh,
might have shot
absolutely, yeah.
fantastically and everything, and the edit can completely ruin your film.
It completely,
So
yeah, you're right.
I mean, I think that's a question. I think I believe all filmmakers, and that's why it's a very good question, go through in their lifetime, right? And that's why over time you gravitate or find what is it that you want to do, right?
Right,
That you really want to do, because there's so much that comes into in your way. And I've felt the same way about editing, right? I love working with my editor. I absolutely love it. I love picking which shot it's going to
right,
be, and not just like not just the shot, which is of course obvious, but also like cut here,
yeah.
and
The
not just
eye,
like cut here. I want to see this person talking, or I do not want to see this person talking at this point. I want to keep keep going. Or
yeah,
I've had like with probably for stage managers, like I don't want cut out these 3 seconds.
right,
I have like cut out this 1 second. This just cut out 1 second here because it will be better, or I want
Yeah.
3 seconds of break here because I want to see that silence before the person speaks.
Right. Right.
So I'm very heavily involved in editing, but when it comes to editing, it's just not, you know, creative enough for me, maybe. I don't know. I mean, and I come from technical background, so it, that may not be, it should not be a problem, but it's
Yeah.
just like, the technical aspect of it, putting stuff together, mixing sound, matching sound,
Yeah.
cutting, and
It's
all
hard.
that. It's hard. It is very
Yeah.
hard, and
Yeah.
people who are great at it, they're just great at it. So I was stuck at one point, at one of my projects I was doing a couple of years ago, and I just couldn't, get through it. It was just too hard,
Yeah.
because I was just not doing it, because every time I would start, I would get stuck, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. And I was very excited about learning it. I was like, I want to learn this, even though
Right.
I don't want to be an editor. I want to learn this because I want to know the process, and I know the
Right.
software and stuff like that. Final Cut, Premiere, and all that. But I ended up actually sending it to editor friend of mine asking for help. And
Mm.
I was like, oh, no, I'll look at online. Everything's available online. I'll just find online. And then that did not work. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to reach out to my friend and ask him. Actually, you know what? I remember now. I reached out to a friend to ask him, like, if you can help me through this.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know you. The better, easier thing would be if you just give it to me and let me do it. Let me do the rough cut. And then, you can. But it's just going to be too frustrating for you and for me to tell you.
Right.
So I mean, so my thing is, this is where I am, right? Again, some people like to do everything and they're good at it. I don't
Right.
think that's me. I
Yeah.
would just rather, let the experts do it, and I
Mhm.
I already have feel for it, like that
Right.
it's not going to be my thing. Like DPing, I would like working with DPs who know what they're doing. So I
Right.
think it's just not my thing. And the things that are not my thing, if I can afford to, I would like to. And afford does not always mean money. In this business, you can call in
Right.
favors. It can be. But I think it's just better off that way,
I think
uh,
so.
if you can,
Yeah.
because these are specialized skills. And that's
Yeah.
why these people make money. These are
Right.
the ones that make money for
Right.
sure, right? So
It's true. Yeah. I mean, editors are important, and I
sound
did.
editors, sound. These people make money. They don't work
Yeah.
for free
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause
usually.
you know
So
why? Because it's the sitting down there looking at a screen for like, 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is.
right, let the
I
experts do it.
yeah, I got the software, and I know how to use Sony Vegas fairly decent enough where I can put scenes together, but just to do a longer piece is just really grueling. I'm doing it, but
It's
I'm like
frustrating for
I'm waiting for that guy to, and he is, a guy or a girl comes in and all they want to do is edit, and they just want to sit there quietly and edit, and we sit back and we go, all right, you see where she blinked? All right,
yeah,
when she opens her eyes again, then cut to this scene, and
right.
that's what I want to do. And then she just go, and then it's done.
But people
Uh,
who are good, they can just do it like that too.
oh
That's the
man,
thing. So
man, I know. I've seen some friends of mine that work at like in New York at some some big places, and they have all the codes, all the, so they just literally, they want to do something, they just go click, and it goes
yeah, and
click.
I'm like, okay.
I'm just
That's
like,
why I think my friend was like, it'll take me an hour to do this, and it
like
will take you a
magic,
week to teach you, and then
right?
you're not even gonna do it. And I'm like, yeah, I guess
So
you're
just
right.
send
I
it
guess
over.
you're right.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll call you when I'm done. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. Like I don't want to call in a favor. It's like it's harder to teach you.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. So let me ask you a question, because there are a lot of our filmmakers out there, probably in the same position that we're in, and some maybe that are just trying to get to the position that we're in, where they want to at least shoot their first film.
right.
What advice do you give to and I don't mean, when I say a young filmmaker, I don't mean young in age. I mean first time filmmaker, uh, that's just kind of like trying to figure it out and watching this and thinking, man, I really would love to shoot a film. What's their what do you think they should do first?
So, see, that's a very loaded and but also very important question that I would like to ask every filmmaker as well. Uh, you know, and of course, most people I've heard the common answer is just do it, right?
Right.
Because I
Yeah.
mean, you have the
Okay.
technology and everything is available, so just do it, and you'll do it and you'll learn. So, of course, and that's a very valid and correct answer. right?
Mhm.
Just do it. You'll do it and you'll learn it, and then you'll do better and you'll do better. So that's a great answer. But my personal advice would be that, that's something that I'm learning from my experience, is reach out for help when you need it, right?
Mm.
Don't think that, and don't get too uptight either, because people in this
Right.
business tend to get, especially new, I have this fantastic story idea that I just cannot share with anybody else, so I have to, like, you do not have a fantastic story idea. There's nothing you have. If it's just an idea, then it's 100% nothing great. If you've written a
Right.
screenplay, maybe, which most people haven't,
Right.
right? So if you have an
Everyone has
idea,
a great idea.
yes, and the idea is worth nothing.
Nothing.
It's worth nothing. I literally say there is no way that you have an idea that nobody else has.
Yeah.
Many hundreds of people have not already thought of. So don't get too uptight. Don't get tied into this, bad process. The best thing would be to reach out to people and learn. There's resources available online, right?
Mhm.
All that. Of course, as far as the doing part is concerned, there's so much. But learn, right? And learning is uh, so like intrinsically important, right? Learn by going to school or online or doing and all those things. But the
Mhm.
biggest thing I would say is reach out for help, because people would want to help you, or at
Yeah.
least collaborate, right? If not help, everybody wants to collaborate. You and I need people, right? If you want to be
Yeah.
an editor, if you want to be a writer, write, make a circle which you can trust and share it with people. If you can't show it to somebody else, a friend of yours, how are you going to take it to a pitch?
Right.
So I think the biggest thing that I would say is like really get out of yourself. And
Mm.
that's just my experience, because I think most of the things that I'm doing right now are because of collaborators. I would not have been able to do it myself.
Yeah. I
And I
agree.
did kind of make that mistake in the beginning when I was like, oh, I had this fantastic,
Right.
I was there. So,
Right.
so I'm telling you from experience that
Right.
if you're new to this business, your best bet is to get people to help you out.
Yeah.
That's how
Well,
you'll make it.
that's a fantastic answer. Actually, that is probably the best answer I've received on that. I agree 100%. I don't think people want to ask, especially when they're starting out, because they feel like, I don't know what it is about that. I mean, I guess they're shy, or they're intimidated to being told that maybe their idea isn't good. Maybe they think they're having a great, because I've had those meetings where somebody calls me up and says, I have the best idea for a film. I'm going to give you the idea and you shoot it, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not. I have a lot of ideas. I have books of ideas. It's not like, but you're right. Go ask for help, have somebody assist you. I'll add to that also, one of the things that I think that people should, if you're starting out, is not only ask for help, but also find out what you want to say. Someone says, I want to make movies. Well, what do you want to say? What's the story? What's the story you want to tell? Do you have an idea of a story?
Right.
Or do you want to? Do you find it important to tell a story? Like, I think you and I are probably, you can't breathe if you're not allowed to tell stories. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I don't have a choice. I
Right.
have to go on. I'll even go on my social media and just tell a brief 2-minute story, because I have to tell a story. It's just the way we're wired, and that's been going on for thousands of years. Stories have been very, very important in the culture, in any culture. So I think that that's a really great answer, and I appreciate you for giving me that answer. Um, Go
I
ahead.
would like to add actually a thing where, because when you were saying something that, and you're right, sometimes people are shy to ask for help. Only thing I would add to that is then go ahead and help other people out, because you can. There's people are looking for
Oh,
help too,
very
right? Like
interesting.
anything, you don't, I'm too big, I just want to be an actor, or I just want to be like, uh, a director. Go help people out, which can be as simple as like work as extra in your friends or people that you know in the film, right? You can find it online if you don't know people. Help with
Absolutely.
crew and all those things. Because when you hang out in those circles, you'll make friends, and then you'll be more open to asking for help. So that
Right.
just came to me, which I have done too, right? Because I've done that for friends, and in the circle, friends or somebody,
Sure.
and
Sure.
then you'll make that creative circle where you can ask for help,
Yeah.
or at
Yeah.
least you'll learn more from watching other people, as to, okay, that's what I was talking about, learning from
Hmm.
watching other people, and like, okay, no, I don't want to do that job, no, I don't want to.
Right.
Yes, that job I would probably enjoy. You go talk to that person, And then there's highly likely over time you'll find somebody who will really want to help you.
Yeah,
So
I
it's a
also
thought
tell
that
people,
came.
yeah, absolutely, 100%. I tell people also go to Casting Central, fill out an application, and get on a film set as an extra, and look
Yeah,
at what's happening. You
central
know what I mean?
casting. Yeah.
I've done a lot of those things where I just wanted to kind of see how the camera was and how the director operated, and I just wanted to be on the set, and you learn so much from just being there if you're not consumed by the idea that you're there. Forget that
Right.
part. Just
That's such a
focus.
great opportunity. I mean, people put it down. I have done that, and now I'm busy, so I don't do that because I have other things. But in the early stages, when I started doing this full time, I did the background work.
Absolutely.
Don't put it down. It's money first thing. As an actor, it's hard to make
Right.
money. As a filmmaker, so money doesn't hurt.
Right.
First thing, and you will get to learn like so much from being on a professional set, just
Oh,
from being there, and not just like with an indie filmmaker. Right when you go first time, and I was there seeing how the magic happens, how this 1 minute scene that you see takes an hour to shoot with all these angles and everything. So okay,
yeah.
you won't do that, but at least you'll know that when I'm shooting this film, I need 3 different camera angles,
Right.
right? So you
Yeah.
would, so it's your personal choice that do you want to put the effort. Most
Yeah.
people, I feel like the biggest thing is if you really want to do this business, put the effort, right?
Right.
Because a lot of people are like, maybe I'll just do social media and do that, and I'll become a star or something, and I'll get lucky. You know what? You're not going to get lucky.
No, it doesn't happen because luck only happens to those that are prepared, right?
Exactly. It's
And if you're not,
opportunity meets readiness. That's luck.
absolutely,
If
if
you're
you're
not
not,
ready, you're not
doesn't
going to get
matter.
lucky.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely, absolutely. Art, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me. I feel like we could probably go on for another hour talking about films,
well,
um, and we
we
probably will at some
we
point.
shall do that. We shall do that in a coffee shop, or if for the
Absolutely.
benefit of our audience. We're both local. I'm in New Jersey as well, so we'll do
Okay,
that.
cool.
But I'll be happy to come back and talk to you. You're
Yeah,
fantastic. Thank you so much.
absolutely.
You're
You're
amazing.
awesome. So let me just give a couple. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let me give some information on where they can find you. I have the only thing I found your Instagram on there. Is that the best place to find you
Art
to connect with
Shrian,
you?
you can find Art Shrian everywhere, and that may be a
Okay.
social media tip if you can afford to, make one same that's everywhere. So you can find Art Shrian on Instagram, Twitter,
Yeah.
Facebook, and
That's a
artshrian.com,
okay.
or the podcast. So Art Shrian is
It's a
there's
thing.
only
Yeah.
one Art Shrian. If you Google me, you'll
Yeah,
find
that's
me, and
actually a very
Instagram is a
good
great
point.
place.
Yeah, that's a very good point that I also bring up to people is like I also have just John Henry Soto on everything. Like it doesn't matter where if you go type in John Henry Soto, it's gonna be one guy. So that's a very important tip for anybody that's thinking of branding themselves basically.
Right.
So awesome. Art, thank you so much. I will talk to you again very, very soon. You're awesome. And I look forward to having some coffee with you and chatting some more films in the future. So thanks, man.
Doing
I
this in
appreciate it.
person.
All right, man. Take
All
care.
right. Thanks a lot, man. Take care.
You got it. All right. That was awesome. 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 So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you. I think I had one comment here. I just want to acknowledge you. Dave Watson says, asked, do you need music? Hey, Dave, we always need music, and your music is the best that comes. You know what I mean? So absolutely, Mr. Watson or Doc, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. We'll definitely talk. And that's about it, folks. So thank you. If you like these interviews, remember it's on YouTube, Facebook. But if you're on YouTube right now, please like, share, subscribe, hit the little bell there so you'll get notifications next time we're on. We have a lot more guests. I have a whole month of guests coming on in June. We're all booked for June, and July is getting ready to get booked. So I appreciate everybody so much, and I will talk to all of you very, very soon. God bless you. Take care of yourselves, and peace.